Hey everyone, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to episode 2 of the PWP sessions. I am your host, Noel A. Figueroa. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Tonight is another great episode I have in store for you all. I have the opportunity to speak with another awesome poet that I had the pleasure of meeting by the name of Sean Battle. And I'm going to share my screen for just a moment to give you some background preliminaries or what have you. So this is episode 2 of the PWP sessions. And what the PWP session is the Poets with Purpose sessions. This is a podcast. This is an extension of the Poets with Purpose poetry workshop, where I will be interviewing new or established authors of poetry, and the poets will have an opportunity to give a performance of their work, and there will also be an audience Q&A session at the end of their performance. Now tonight, about myself, I'm a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the PWP sessions. Now my guest tonight is Mr. Sean Battle. Born in Camden, New Jersey, Sean Battle is the combination of an ambitious mother and pro wrestling antics. His service in the arts is to carve out worlds when there's nowhere else in the current normal to reside. The holder of an MFA in poetry and BA in English from Rutgers University, Battle is the author of 2 self-published full-length collections, Profess in 2018 and The Forest of Bricks, put out in 2015. His poems are also in journals such as Radius, From the Center to the Edge, The Legendary, Freeze Ray Poetry, and Journal of New Jersey Poets as a curator. Battle is the founder and CEO of Evolu Culture Ventures, LLC, a Newark-based integrated media and performing arts organization that holds space for artists and art lovers. He is also executive producer and host of its flagship show, Evolution Dope and Mike. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all my guest for this evening, Mr. Sean Battle.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Hey, everything's everything, man. Thank you for tuning into the show tonight. Thank you for being my guest this evening. How you doing? How's everything?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem, man. So I guess we'll start off by asking a simple question. Who is Sean Battle? How would you?
Oh, Jesus.
What is your response to that? Seemingly simple question.
Honestly, it changes every day. The only thing I can say for certain is that at this point in my life, I'm 100% me. Whatever that means during the day, whatever my mood is, whatever it is that I'm focused on, I own up to it. I hold myself accountable to it and anything that I set out to do. And if that changes, then that changes. And that's the best way I could put it. Anything else sounds fake as hell, to be quite honest. And that's on me being a Leo.
Right. Now, what would you say was your motivating factor into getting into poetry? Like, was there a particular event or defining moment that got you motivated into getting into poetry?
So I started writing in 2006. I was in high school at that point. Here's what happened. I ended up doing a history class, a U.S. history class at Pensacola High School. Shout out to Pensacola, shout out to South Jersey. And we had a homework assignment to write a poem inspired by World War I. Typical high school student, I wait until the day of that is due to write a piece. Luckily for me, I had lunch right before class, so I took I think it was mine or someone else's notebook, a composition notebook, mind you. So I just ripped out a piece of paper and just wrote the first thing that came to my head. And I can't remember the exact quote, but I remember reading in the text somebody's general saying the only way we're leaving this battlefield is on a stretcher. So I ended up taking that and I ended up writing a piece from the perspective of a soldier in the trenches during World War I. So my first poem was a persona poem. I go to the class, and just to paint the picture, you know, you have your popular kids, you have your high school jocks, your, you know, the typicals. And I was, I guess, a shy kid, but at the same time, I was shy yet awkward. I was shy, I was awkward, I was weird, I would draw attention to myself in some of the craziest ways. And you know, I'm listening to everybody share their work, because there was also a reading contest to get everybody to share their piece. I'm listening to everybody go before me. And it's people who are just confident as hell. Every time I see them, every time, you know, I hear about them, they got everything together, they top athletes, et cetera, et cetera. They go out there and present their pieces and they're shy as hell. And that irked the ever-loving shit out of me. Like, that made something tingle. I call it curator senses now, or artist senses now. Whenever I see something on stage and I know it could be hot, or they're trying for something and it just fell flat because they didn't give it their all, and that aggravated the shit out of me. So I end up going on stage. I don't know shit either, but I know to get the energy.
Right.
So I did. I ended up giving the energy. I ended up getting a standing ovation from the class. And when they went to pick who won, it was unanimous that I did.
Wow, that's what's up.
And so, yeah, that was the beginning of everything, to be quite honest. That's when it's like, okay, I have something here. There were other instances leading up to my talent show, leading up to senior year, where I ended up being a part of theater class, and be doing the action news, the morning announcements. A lot of that coming from the fact of, oh shit, I got to apply for college. I don't have something to put on the application outside of academics, and I ain't even no consistent honor roll student. What the hell am I gonna do? So I ended up taking on every single club that I could think of, even if it was just for a week, so I could say that I did it. And that included debate club, that included poetry club, which I ended up staying on. And then finally, I did the talent show that year, and Pensacola High Talent Show, like, that's a whole big event. That's the WrestleMania of the community. And so I ended up on my biggest stage at that point in front of mad people, some from my school, a lot of people from my school and their families. Ended up doing a piece. It was a competition. I got my ass kicked in the poetry category. I was voted last by everybody. But considering who I was on stage with, some of them who are authors like myself, shout outs to Shayna Danielle, shout outs to Shanae Erklin. It's not surprising, you know, but it got my start into ultimately doubling down once I got to my college years and really taking it seriously.
Right. That's what's up. Now, take me on the journey to your first book. Like, what was the decision for you to put together your first poetry collection, and what were the subjects of your poetry for that book that you felt you needed to put into words in order to put that book together?
Got you. Wait a minute. Give me 1 second. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. I get better with promoting my own books. So for those who can see in the image and everything, this is what it looks like. The Forest of Bricks. Had to grab that real quick. So with the Forest of Bricks, that was my thesis for when I did my MFA program at Rutgers Newark. For those who don't know, if you're going for a Master of Fine Arts in Poetry, your thesis is essentially your manuscript for a book. That's what you're aiming for, really. So, and the crazy thing is, I started on it before I even got to into the MFA program. I didn't wait. You know, I had already gotten published a chapbook of my own out by senior year, last semester, final semester, and knowing that this would be the goal since freshman year, honestly, when my mom was like, "You're going to grad school," I was like, "Okay, oh boy, I got to find something that actually excites me." That's when I found out about the Rutgers MFA program in Newark. And I already saw Newark as this place to be similar to New York. If you want to make it as an artist, you got to make it here. Right. So I ended up, that was the goal from freshman year on, to get to that school and get to that city, which I did. So the Forest of Bricks is my MFA thesis that started before I got to school. And then once I graduated, worked on it for another year to defang the MFA out of my work. There's a difference when you're writing for a workshop, if you will, or writing for a certain institution or certain institutions that ultimately you're like, y'all don't pay enough for me to give a flying crap about that. I'd rather make my own, which would be the start of many times I would do just that. Right. So I gave myself another year to really publish everything. And I chose self-publishing after signing with an independent publisher for a while, but due to some differences that we had, I ultimately ended the contract and said, I still have a due date. I'm still putting this book out, and I've been self-publishing ever since. So the Forest of Bricks, I mean, that came about just years of work that just happened as I just gave myself space to do so, which I had within 6 years, undergrad and graduate, that I ended up being at Rutgers. So that's why when you read it, there's a lot of callbacks and there's a lot of references to Newark because it was such an influence, still a big influence in my work. If you look at my cover, the artist that's being presented, the model being presented is an artist herself, a poet and MC herself, Fatima Zahara. When she did a photo shoot called Queen in the Streets, shout out to the photographer Rakim Brown, AKA Wave God. And I saw the photo and I was like, not only did I like that, I love it, I ended up writing a poem to it called Colors of a Queen in the Streets, which is in the book. And I ended up just going back to that photo shoot and I'm like, that's my cover. So I got permission to use the photo, gave it to Viviana Salgado, VS Designs, to do the graphic design. And that's how everything came to be. All Newark, all local, all independent, all Black. That is my intent whenever I put books together, to look out for our own.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. But as far as the content of the book, would you say it consists of poetry that pertains to your life experiences while living in Newark, as well as other subjects? Like what did the poems consist of?
So the first collection, I'll put it to you like this. It's a coming of age tale. And it comes down to, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how you were born. You're not immune to strife. You're not immune to struggle. Right. It's how you respond to it that determines who you are. So my hometown of Camden is in this. Voorhees, where some of my family lives now, is in this. Pennsauken is somewhere in there, and then Newark is in there as well. And you'll know once you get into that first book, because I'll place where the narrative of the poem, if you will, takes place.
Awesome, awesome. Now, from that book, you then went on to do Profess. Is that correct?
Yes, 2 years after, actually right after The Forest of Bricks was done, I started work on Profess. It was under a different name, and I was seeing where my life is at that point, and a lot of my pieces were focusing on my own vulnerabilities, and I ended up wanting to focus on masculinity, etc. But I was like, that's not one book. That's my writing as a whole. Black Americanism is my writing as a whole because that's the experience that I'm writing from.
Right.
So over time, it became profess because from 2014 until 2000, until recently, actually, until last year, I went by professor because I was a professor, adjunct professor to be exact, at Essex County College. That was my first job coming out of grad school. And I stayed in education for 7 years. So I never felt comfortable with that name, that persona, even after I owned it because people gave it to me. Right. It didn't feel fully right. Profess came out of the title, came from me wanting to be like, you know what? Let me use professor in this because I feel like I know where this is going.
Right.
And I was told to shorten it to profess. Profess, this book right here. Oh, this book right here. The definition that I used, Jesus Christ. The definition I used is 3 of them. 1, claim openly but often falsely that one has a quality or feeling. 2, affirm one's faith in or allegiance to a religion or set of beliefs. 3, to practice or claim to be versed in, therefore teach. And I ended up asking a question with that collection through the poems themselves. What happens when everything all your life lessons, everything you know and love turned out to be outdated or outright lies? How do you respond to that? And it was a period where I was doing a lot of shedding. I was doing a lot of changing up what I thought to be true, what I thought was going to be my life. And it ended up being a crystal ball because I was alluding to, in some cases, this whole professor thing was not going to last. I have a poem in there called Portrait of a Teacher's Anxiety, which speaks on what was a common thing if I ever tried to teach a course and I did not have what is needed to be a strong teacher, a resilient teacher to really handle that well. And it took me a while to realize that and be like, yo, this is not where your heart is. Art is where your heart is. And art and education don't always go together, not for certain people. You are one of those certain people. So I ended up having to own that, and profess ended up telling on myself in that regard.
Right. And I just want to share with the audience that how we connected. I believe it was you had reached out to me. I was hosting my own poetry workshop called November Notations. And, you graciously traveled from Newark to Brooklyn, to be at the workshop, which is how I got to experience Profess. I believe you read some copies out of Profess during that event, which, by the way, I bought my copy on the spot because your poetry was on point. The way you presented your work, you presented your work with such a confidence and a boldness that I would have never known that, you had any like insecurities or uncertainties, like when you first started your poetry, you know what I mean? So from when you first started, as you just mentioned, up until that particular point, as far as that book is concerned, there was a sense of growth, more or less. And, and I read some of the poetry in your book, there was a lot of transparency and a lot of honesty, with the thoughts that you conveyed, which is what I gravitated me towards your work. There was a boldness to it that you were speaking from a place of honesty and transparency, and which is very much appreciated as an artist, and I give you props for that, because as I believe as an artist, it's important for us to be transparent with our writing, or else it'll just come off as contrived or planned, and you lose the message when you present yourself that way.
Absolutely. And that's something I had to learn multiple times over. Like, I remember one of the people who I looked up to, Joseph Thomas, Assassin. He was like, you got to go through certain shit to really have, what you need for your writing to pop. And that sounds on its own, that sounds kind of fucked up. But at the same time, I get it. Like, it's got to me, it reads as, it's got to come from a real place, and you have to own who you are in that regard. And I'm at a point where I'm doing just that. I have no choice in the matter. I made my bed with certain things. I made my mistakes. I am human like everybody else.
Right.
And that's where I'm writing from. So it's either, this is who I am in a lot of ways, for good, bad, or indifferent. Take it or leave it. That's where I'm at with it.
Right. Right. And also from what I've observed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've observed that you seem to be the type of artist that doesn't wait for somebody to give them a platform. You've, in a sense, created your own platform. As far as those two books in particular. We'll get to the other stuff, but just to show as just to take those two projects as an example. You made the decision to put yourself out there, and you didn't wait on anybody. You would just basically say, I'm going to do this, and whoever receives it, and whoever doesn't. you know and that's a confidence and a boldness that I appreciate about you, because I'm kind of in the same vein. Like with this platform, and with my poetry workshop. Sometimes you just got to step out and do it, and you're not always going to get the support that you would expect, but the satisfaction ultimately comes from knowing that you put yourself out there, and that you completed something that you were passionate about. And that's something to be very, that's something to be appreciated and admired. And I commend you for stepping out, because you left, just with those two projects alone, you left your mark. And that's definitely, and those are definitely accomplishments to be proud of.
Yeah, I've been I'm sorry, some individual was like, share the link, share the link. I'm like, hold on, dang it. It's in the flyer. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I don't have the patience to wait. I just don't. And that came from a multitude of things. First of all, I saw other people that were not waiting. The artists that I was around, they either created their own publishing companies, or they just self-published straight out. They were taking their poems and doing chapbooks, stapling the spines themselves, like going to Costco's or going to wherever printing store was near them. And it's like, as time progressed and software became more, well done, it was like, yo, I got to do this myself, man. I just got to do this myself. Like, say, for example, I can't, like I said before, I can't sit here, and I recognize, the big publishing houses and what they are, and how much of a great accomplishment that they are, and peace to those poets who have been able to take that and run with it and get recognized for their work as they should be, especially as Black poets, because we fucking deserve it. For me, it was a combination of tried it, didn't get in, and I no longer have the patience for it, because I got to worry about real life things like, what the hell is going to be my job coming out of grad school? This is all great and all, but I need some stable income. Right. Which led me to make certain decisions, and at times, almost regret being an artist. Almost, keyword. Give an example. Shout out to Kavikana, a Black poetry retreat that's been around for years. And that's one of those places where it's like, you get in that door, you get in through that door, it helps you so much. And Kavikana was a goal of mine. I applied the first time, close to the end of my senior year in college, before I went to grad school. Matter of fact, I applied with poems that I had written up to the end of my fall semester, and edited and everything, and had my previous teachers see them. Shout outs to Evie Shockley. Shout outs to Susan L. Miller. Shout outs to Dr. Tara Betts, who I interviewed for my poetry talk show Next Up on the Evolute Culture YouTube channel. Strong ass writers, strong ass teachers. Have them look at it. But, I don't have the grad school credentials. I'm just an undergrad.
Right.
Still applied, on top of being a spoken word artist. Still applied, got on the wait list. They called me a couple months later because a spot opened up. I didn't go because they called me on the day of my aunt's wedding.
Wow.
So I didn't even have the resources to go at the last minute.
Wow.
All the time, it wasn't meant to be. Try again. After my first semester at Rutgers Newark, I got my undergrad at Rutgers, New Brunswick. Shout out to Verbal Mayhem, my first poetry home, which is a student organization there now. And I got my master's at Rutgers Newark. After my first semester there, I try again. I don't get in. Try the next year. I don't get in. Try the next year. I don't get it. Man, fuck this. I'm done. But wait a minute. I took these undergrad poems and at least got waitlisted. I let the next few times using work that had been workshopped in the graduate level.
Right.
And I don't get picked. What the fuck?
Right.
What the fuck? What the fuck? It doesn't make sense to me. And it just made me go, you know what? I think something got lost in translation when I went from undergrad to grad. Yeah, I know a bit more about form and about cohesion and about pulling back and choosing the best words, but I think some of my spirit got lost. So when I say defang the MFA out of my work, that's what I talk about. And it was the first time that I realized I gotta really carve out my own fucking journey and figure out what the hell do I want to be as a poet, as a spoken word artist, an artistry that is mainstream, but especially now. But shout out to Amanda Gorman, shout out to Brandon Leak, who won America's Top Talent last year.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, it's not, because when we talk about the best spoken word, what is it, Grammy or whatever the hell, it's usually comedy albums that win, or someone else is speaking. It's not spoken word as in poetry.
Right.
It's not us. So is poetry or spoken word even able to be commodified on that level? Or is it just a case of, like, I'm in an art form where it's like, you got to make up what your industry looks like. You're taking from other industries and you're trying to put something together. It's a collaborative effort, and you got to finesse your way through things to get certain opportunities, especially if you don't compete in poetry slams, which I don't on a national level. I rarely ever slammed. I only slammed like 6 or 7, 8 times in my whole 10-year career.
Right.
So that's not me either. What the hell else is left? I got to make my own lane. Thus, Evolute Culture Ventures, catch these vibes, being born in October of 2014, because at the end of the day, I got to do things my way and figure it out in order to make sense of what I've learned in the last 6 years and, create a life, an experience that I could be proud of. I may not be the best known, but I'll be for damn sure give a space to the ones who will be. And I will take comfort in that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's where the greatest satisfaction as an artist comes, when you've carved your own path, and nobody can take credit for what you yourself put your hands to produce. Now, with that being said, can you guide me on your like the next 2 books, like the book that comes after Profess, and then you also have a current project coming up as well this year?
They're one and the same.
Okay.
Juneteenth of this year, I will drop my 3rd book, Happy Endings Are Earned. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually sharing from that collection tonight, exclusively. So a lot of these pieces, all these pieces actually are coming from Happy Endings Are Earned. Awesome. It comes down to, it's like, okay, The Forest of Bricks was me learning certain lessons. And Profess was me seeing that those lessons are outdated or were bullshit from the start. Mm-hmm. Happy Endings Are Earned is almost like the trilogy book. Something in me started writing this and putting stuff together as if it would be my last. Take that how you will. Mm-hmm. And it really started revealing to me what it means to have a happy ending, what it really means to have a great conclusion. And it ended up being a mixture of pleasure and purpose, a search for nourishment, a search for fulfillment. You know, you're trying to figure things out and you're stuffing that emptiness with other things and ultimately just trying to make sense of it all. And even the book itself doesn't end, you know, concretely on, you know, light at the end of it, or if there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it's very dim.
Right.
Like something in me said, you know, that's another thing about my writing, be as realistic as possible. Not every poem has a happy ending.
Right.
And to be real about that, some of them, some of y'all ones like, oh, okay, and happier. Next poem.
Right.
Dang, right. Dang where I'm at right now. Right now, I'm with the darkness. I'm down with the darkness. I'm down with the sickness right now.
Right.
Maybe, and then, you know, when I wake up, I'll be much better and I'll pray on it. But right now, this is where the fuck I'm at.
Right.
And my writing has been owning that from the get-go.
Right. Which brings me to my next point. When you put all these three books together, right? You put yourself out there, saying what you've said. Do you feel with these projects that you spoke your truth? Like, do you feel that did you feel that with these projects up until now, do you feel that you've had the opportunity to convey your thoughts and ideas freely as Sean? Do you feel you got to freely present Sean Battle to the world as Sean Battle and no one or nothing else? You know what I mean?
I do. Yes, and that is with the freedom of my truth changing. I know where I was. I get pinpoint where I was when I wrote certain poems, where I was mentally when I put the collection together. I own all those experiences as being a part of me and me making decisions that were for me and what I wanted to do. You know, freedom doesn't come without consequences. And so the only thing I can do is own all of it. So they are all coming from a real place. That place has changed over the years. And I am okay with that. Because at the end of the day, I gave my best.
Right. And that's essentially all you can do at the end of the day, you know, speak your own truth and leave it to your readers to interpret it however they wish. But ultimately, you decided to say what you needed to say, and you allow it to do your work to just let it speak for itself and allow it to resonate with people, you know, as they perceive it. And with that being said, like, who, I know you mentioned a few names already, but can you share with our audience like the specific people in your life that helped you in your process of evolving as a writer from when you first started writing up until this point?
I talked about Dr. Terapets already, Evie Shockley, Susan L. Miller. Those were along with Dr. Zarina Prater, who is not a poet, but is big on writing. She was one of my composition teachers and was a hard ass and really helped me in my earlier years as well, just with that in general. All of them did in some way, shape, or form. So those four teachers were key in my undergrad. In my graduate years, I'm going to be honest. Some names I don't remember. Some names I don't want to remember.
Right.
It was the experience. It was the experience for me in terms of how I responded to certain shit.
Right.
And that's just me being honest. As far as, you know, others who have helped me just, you know, from a writing standpoint, I mentioned Joseph Assassin Thomas. Shout outs also to Omar Holman. Shout outs also to Ian Kadan. Back when I met them, they were known together as the Justice League. If you're in New Brunswick, if you're in that scene, especially if you're in there from 2007 until now, you know who the hell I'm talking about. If you know about blackdirtpounds.com, you know who the hell Omar Holman is. And those three definitely helped. Shout outs to hiphoppoetry.com, an old website where a message board where I would post up a lot of my work. Poets would post up their works. MCs, graphic designers, and was either get critiques or they would face off in like poetry battles or something like that. That helped me sharpen me as a writer as well in my earlier years. Places like that where certain names that are big now, like a poet by the name of Sophia Alejo, was on that website as well. Trey G, who's a former New Yorican Grand Slam, she was a New Yorican Grand Slam champion in one of their slam seasons. He was on that site as well. So they've definitely helped me along the way as a writer. And then you have the people who I read over time. Patricia Smith is my favorite poet of all time. Just from her language, her usage of language, and how rich it is, how thick it can be, how visual it can be, like dropping you right into the scene, which is definitely important because she uses a lot of persona. Jack McCarthy, Tony Brown. From them, I learned about clarity. From them, I learned about like just keeping it simple, but also seeing the poetic line as a musical note. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Gina and Verlee. Oh my God. I'm drawing a blank. There are certain names I'm just drawing a blank right now. I can't think of them, but the Ebony Hogan, Gina and Verlee, and there was one more. I can't think of right now, but they really helped me with performance and what I can do and what little I have to do by heightening other aspects of my own body and mind to really get the point across without doing too much on stage. They helped me inform my performance style as well.
That's awesome. Now, we've covered the books. Can you now share with our audience a background as to what Evolu Culture is and what Evolu Culture has accomplished or put out up until this point?
Right, so Evolu Culture Ventures is an integrated media and performing arts organization based out of Newark. We were born as a brand October 9, 2014, with the launch of what is now Evolution Dope and Mic at the Coffee Cave, which is no longer with us. Still one of the longest running open mic series in Newark that is still active. And we brought it back. Pandemic kind of shut us down for the rest of the year in 2020, but we brought it back in January as a virtual event. As of this recording, we would have done our April edition already. May, we're taking a break, and then June, we come back. Evolu Culture as a whole, our goal is to hold space for artists and art lovers who need it, as well as inspire them. So not only do we have Evolution, we have other open mic events. My general manager, Don Krypton, is with us in the audience. He actually hosts an event virtually on Instagram Live every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have Clubhouse programming. If you're on the Clubhouse app, we have Let Artists Be Open Mic there. We have mental health check-in sessions as well. We knew with Evolu. Shout out to my president, treasure board, who puts that together. So in addition to those events and many more to come, both in person and virtual, we also have an apparel line. I'm wearing the Catch These Vibes special edition t-shirt right now.
Extreme Yes, that's dope.
So that's available now on our website, evoluculture.com. And just the goal is, again, is to give space for others to present their work in a safe, sacred manner. And that so long as your beliefs are not harming others, especially those of the marginalized, you're good to share. Otherwise, as I always say in the beginning of shows, any racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, misogynoir, rape culture perpetuating, predatory in the head ass, words or actions on stage or off will not be tolerated. You will be shown the door. Read the room. Match the vibe of the audience with the vibe you want to provide. That's what we're big on right now, especially on the wellness side of things now with Renew, wanting to honor the person as well as the artist. And we expanded recently, got registered as an official business back in July of last year. We have the YouTube channel. We're doing the virtual programming. We have in-person events coming through. And we recently made history in the decades-old Lincoln Park Music Festival in Newark, New Jersey by presenting, because it has a hip hop day, has a house day, has a gospel day. We presented its first ever poetry day.
That's what's up.
So we ended up having poets not only from New Jersey, but from Brazil, from London, from Kenya, also sharing their work on that day. And that was the biggest production that Evolute Culture had done up to that point. So we're doing partnerships, and that was through the Newark Arts Creative Catalyst Fund that was granted to us alongside 100 other artists by Newark Arts in relation to the pandemic and wanting to help artists out. So we've been fortunate to do all this, and we're Black owned and operated. Shout outs to my team, President Treasure Board, General Manager Don Krypton, Executive Assistant Kara Candy, Brand Ambassador, and Hip Hop House Artist at ISM, Associate Lady Amethyst, and to everyone that has been at our events, whether you're day one or day 100. Again, the idea is to give space for people to present their best selves, and that's the work I wanted to focus on. Like, to me, being a teacher was in the way of what I really wanted to do. You know, I have another job that pays the bills and everything now, that's full time, but ultimately I have more time for this. And that's something that I had to accept. That's something where I had to be like, this is where I need to be, moving right along.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to congratulate you on all of your accomplishments. You know, it's awesome to see poets such as yourself, you know, create spaces for other poets while also producing, you know, your own personal projects at the same time. You know, you definitely made an impact. And I honor your work, I respect your work, and I'm inspired by your work. And and I just encourage you to keep pushing and pressing, because it's not easy pursuing your passion when you got to deal with the realities of life. So I do want to commend you for taking the time and putting in the work, to produce quality material as far as your writing is concerned, as far as your events are concerned. And I just encourage you to keep pushing and pressing, because you do have an impact, and maybe it's not the impact that you hope to have, but trust and believe, bro, you've made a positive impression. At least from where I'm standing, your work is valuable, and there's tangible evidence of its impact, all over. So I commend you and I honor you, and I encourage you to keep pushing and to keep pressing. Those are awesome achievements.
Thank you, bro. And I say the same for you as well. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, bro. Now, at this time, I'm going to share my screen, because okay. It is now time for Sean Battle to take the mic. At this time, Sean, at your leisure, you feel free to share up to 5 poems of your choosing. You don't have to do 5 poems if you don't want to, but I like to give you the space at this moment to share whatever 5 poems you feel motivated to share with our audience tonight. To give our audience, like a sample more or less of who Sean Battle is.
Got you. All right. So let me just do this real quick. No business suits a bulletproof vest. Every demonstration is a test. Before it's time for the new world order, we must decide if we shall be slaughtered. Can y'all still see me or hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, cool. I just had to check my screen because I want to do this accurate. So everything I'm sharing tonight is from my 3rd book, Happy Endings Are Earned, which will be available Juneteenth of this year.
Awesome.
Shout out to Neil Wakia, who, actually, no, my bad. I'm all the way off. All right, I'll share this one first. Purpose. There is a shadow starving for space to be heard in. No jump backs from its presence, no scowls for existing, just head nods, hugs, kisses, caresses, surrender. It longs for being in body and soul to be willingly swallowed whole so it could reemerge brand new, stand on grounds of refreshment and clarity. My shadow prays to be chosen as giver of such rides, fiends for consent while remembering how famished it is for power. Power. The one craving so toxic, politicians prefer it over healthy countries. But it knows not all of its lifespan breeds worthiness of such feast. So it grows weary till tummy rumbles become tirades over matters that should be absent of my input. My shadow reflects this pain, schemes for ways to get it without my consent. Nah. I knew what it was doing. Guilty of fumbled friendships, shelving secrets in drawers they don't belong, contradictions without consciousness. Then came the put downs, hard talks, tears I never want to cause again from giving disappointment. Lessons learned becomes dirt collected, holding seeds I've chosen to water so root, stem, leaves, branches, life can grow from trials long past. But the hunger remains. Only now I acknowledge it, question how I crave submission when I haven't surrendered fully to purpose myself. My shadow forever exists so long as I do. Never guaranteed forgiveness, only a path forward, cravings and all, to be someone's vessel for happy endings. And speaking of happy endings, shout outs to Neil Wakia, a singer-songwriter whose track Aphrodisiac inspired this piece, also called Aphrodisiac. Breath and melody in tune with heartbeat. Worries tethered to clothing lay powerless around our bed. My hands in search for knots, listen for the switch up in your rhythm as confirmation. I take my time, restrain the wolf in me till every hip and thigh is tenderized. I get to your feet, recall kicks and swerves made for survival, yet they remain inviting in appearance. But I know better. So, before my tongue helps bring your heel back to life, I ask what will be scratched and repeated for any morsel of your time. May I add to your self-love. Be the extra hands that help peel red lace off your dark chocolate. Be lips valid enough for you to melt against. I promise this is not only for my consumption. I want to know if I could compliment the bliss you manifest for yourself. Once you told me how men denounced the goddess in you, regulated your magic towards monetary gain for their pockets only. I made a promise since then. Be gentle. Do not ascend you until you want to be ascended. Want nothing but your trust in me seeing your rivers flow without fear of contamination. Hold you while the storm in you subsides. Slide palms across your back till your body finishes crying joy. I value you beyond experience and artistry. Should you sing tonight, a note higher for every stroke, may it be of healing. My mouth, a leech sucking out the sickness gathered from having to human for decades on. I may never know fully of what you went through, but I will love the hellfire out of you and replace it with heaven's charm. Now, unfortunately, I could promise all that and it still don't work out. Thus, this song by Samoht, S-A-M-O-H-T, inspiring this piece from his song, MySpace, just in case something sounds familiar. Closed mouths dig holes. 1, God forgave me when I called him. May I forgive myself for putting anyone but him on a pedestal, satisfying flesh while ignoring the buildup of my presence to be a tumor on her spirit, ignored till neither of us could breathe proper. I know people who died on me, who are still alive on the earth. Even now, it's not the loss of my time I mourn, but hers. I still don't know why saying no was troublesome for me. Was it my tone, knowing the bass is set to loud when left unchecked? Was it my tiptoe steps on her creaky floor nerves whenever I didn't get shit done right? I know people who died on me, who are still alive on the earth. By the time I diagnosed it, no radiation could save us. I went to only cut out one layer of our bond, begging to save the rest. Only then did I see how much of her I already ate away. I know people who died on me, who are still alive on the earth. 2, God will punch you for every plan made, laugh at you for thinking your footwork will keep you from tasting his glove. When stars circle my vision, when the ref begins its count, honing in on my eyes, that is when I slouch in the corner. If you don't inspire me, you got to go. I can't have you fucking with my flow. Finally, I can sleep. Finally, I can let loving hands lay on me, tend to wounds I caused myself. Then I noticed none of the touch that came was yours. Where you sat, a white towel now occupied. You learned before I did. My martyrdom by way of hoarding truth only blocked our destiny. If you don't inspire me, you got to go. I can't have you fucking with my flow. Where I was to go, I could not share with you. Where you wanted me to go, I listened till God made it futile to plant seeds in the cauliflower garden he had made of my ears. If you don't inspire me, you got to go. I can't have you fucking with my flow. Whenever I get like that, I have to be honest in where I'm at in life and how I push people away. Rest in peace, DMX. This poem is called When They Finally Say, hope you figure it out, love. Between my bed and dresser drawer are a corner of pillows for when I don't feel like standing up nor climbing into the covers. So I'll flop on the blanket to lay my head on this soft mountain, cuddle one like a non-existent lover. Yo, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up. Hey, yo, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up. I close my eyes, remain indecisive on sleeping. My mind jitters like teeth, picking my fingers till blood is drawn, but never is the anxiety extracted. So many years, so many bonds broken over a need to go through shit just to feel human. My putrid patterns never not choke patience out of people. Hey, yo, I'm slipping. I'm falling. I can't get up. Hey, yo, I'm slipping. I'm falling. I got to get up. By then, many loved ones tell me to figure it out. Pray from a distance. Only I can warm me up enough to melt away the guilt of wasted potential. I cannot get that time back, nor have the courage to sleep forever. So I ask God, get me back on my feet. Get me back on my feet. Get me back on my feet so I can tear shit up. Black boy, white woman, sidewalk, purse, tightened grip, no eye contact, walk past. Breath released. Sometimes they walk across the street, give you space to exist. You shake your head, keep walking. Grateful they stepped aside for once, so you step towards success, or at least survival, a little easier. Where is this done for the podium, office chair, bonus, promotion, pay raise? One does not always come with the other. Leadership role minus micromanagement. Is it only in the street where Black folk command respect, savagery assumed by whatever body count they were told we had? Granted, that is fear, not respect, but the source of their response to the gold coating your bones is none of your business. Till they choose not to volunteer the inevitable sacrifice of open purses to go with pavements cleared of their bodies like they want their conscience to be. Only then would you be right to prove stereotypes. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Single what's around. Potholes too deep and hills too steep for unspoken truth. Shackled to feet. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. Dear white liberal, Black Lives Matter, splattered yellow on strips of pavement, is pandering in place of policy change. Just say you don't want to try something new by abolishing police in its current form and go. I'm tired of colorful visuals clouding visions of fairness. Rename the team, rebrand the syrup, solicit Black writers for journals, white as the pages they print on. Social justice is good business now. A game to measure wokeness, see who gives better worded empty promises to acknowledge troublesome times, then time how long before someone asks, this you? In the caption of a receipt to ghost of bullshits past and present. I mean, at least there are those clear in their grim reaper hooded visions of future for us Black folk. Something to shoot and stomp to protect entitled resources. Nah, it's you so-called allies I'm eyeing. You who quake at the no peace in no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. Ancestors hexing your privileged foundation. Your ears bleed when ordered to empty pockets. Stand aside so others take office jobs. Be intentional in hiring beyond the pale and male without defaulting to roles like chief of diversity. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. Call us like it is and keep it moving. Single what's around, dear white liberal. If our demands to be seen as human beyond dollars and donated organs are a fucking inconvenience, if all you have for genocide that starts when medical questions from a black mother gets ignored by her white doctor are skin tone band-aids, sit your $5 ass down before we make change with black masks and black hoodies out of gated communities. And no, we do not have the cultural capital to storm the Capitol like your conservative comrades, capping for a crybaby colonizer in chief who can't take a fucking loss. Gates swung open for them like limousine doors. But fuck that. Anarchy is inevitable, so may it be for the birth of true equity, not for a wannabe emperor. Potholes too deep and hills too steep, for unspoken truth, shackled to feet. Call us like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. Dear white liberal, someone's right will always be another's revolution. Dear white liberal, someone's right will always be another revolution, and your rhetoric about that or this, that or this, that or this not being a real protest will still be the same should more ground be stained by rivers of black blood before our souls even hit the steps. The current ways got my people bopping in decay anyway. So what's the point of polite if all paths lead to sound bites like Black Lives Matter, splattered yellow on strips of pavement, scorched in exchange for policy change? Sincerely, your hands up, your mouth closed, your ears open, your wallets ready. Call us like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Single what's around. Potholes too deep and hills too steep. For unspoken truth, shackled to feet. Call it like it is and keep it moving. Check it out. I'm Sean Battle, and Poets Do Not Tell. We show out.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you just experienced Lit Poetics from the one and only Sean Battle. Those are some awesome poems, Sean. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing. That was some dope pieces. And as you've mentioned, these were taken from your upcoming book, Happy Endings Are Earned. Is that correct? I think you're muted, Sean.
Lord have mercy, my bad.
There you go, no worries.
All books, including Happy Endings Are Earned, will be sold exclusively on evoluculture.com. That is EVOLUCULTURE. Evoluculture.com. That's currently where The Forest of Bricks is. That's currently where Profess is.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Now at this time, we're gonna take a few minutes to do an audience Q&A. So if there's anyone in the audience that would like to ask Sean any questions or have any comments about Sean's work, you can unmute yourself at this time and then ask Sean a question or give him a comment about what he shared this evening. I see. Hey, Don. Hey, Don, you have a question or comment?
I do. Quick question. You just flow so beautifully between poems, almost as like it's one poem. Where did you learn to get where did you learn your transitions, or how to actually move between one poem and another almost without taking a breath? How did you get to that point?
That came from a couple of places. If you go to an academic reading, like an academic or traditional poetry reading, a lot of people wait until the end of the set to start clapping for the poet who presented, which means that poet is going from one poem to the next and some of them unfortunately don't have necessarily the reading voice to really keep them exciting, you know? But I also saw other poets like Saul Williams who do have that and just flow from piece to piece. And then locally, I saw it from Mia X, Margie Johnson. I saw it from Uninvited in terms of just flowing from one piece to the next. And lately with the pandemic, whenever I'm doing shows like this, it's like there's really no round of applause to wait for in terms of pausing. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go right into the next one and make it all make sense. Dr. Elena D. Lewis once said that a feature is like a 15 and 20-minute play. And that's something that I hold on to whenever I feature.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Excellent. Is there anyone else in the audience tonight that would like to ask Sean a question or have a comment? You feel free to unmute yourself at this point. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, Sean, before we sign off, can you share with our audience where you can be found on social media?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Noel, for all the work that you do. Looking forward to working more in the future. I am Sean Battle, the Evolue Genius. Thank you, Don, for that nickname. You can follow me on Instagram at Poems by SEAN Battle to follow me individually. Also, Sean Battle on Facebook. And again, Facebook for this, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Evolue Culture, Clubhouse, Evolue Culture Ventures, so that you're updated on when we have the Let Artists Be room up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where Evolution Dope and Mics is streamed live. That's where our music talk show, Off the Mic, is streamed live. Shout out to the Ism. That's where all of our video content, such as Next Up, the Poetry Talk Show, and others is at. Trying to get to 300 subscribers ASAP. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want my books or the apparel, all that is available for purchase exclusively on evoluculture.com. That is EVOLUCULTURE. Evolue Culture Ventures. Catch these vibes as you go from global to globally recognized.
Yes, yes, and trust and believe all the vibes have been caught. They were awesome. They were on point, energetic, full of emotion. Sean, thank you for coming through. This conversation was excellent. I appreciate your time and sharing, and I wish you much success on your latest project. And again, when is it set to be released? Happy Endings Are Earned?
Juneteenth, 2021. That is June 19th. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, look it up. It's a method to my Black ass madness.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now, before we sign off, I'm just going to share one more screen to say thank you. Thank you, Sean Battle. Thank you to the audience tonight for tuning in to episode 2 of the PWP sessions. This episode has been recorded and will be uploaded to the Poets with Purpose YouTube channel for your viewing leisure at any time. You can find Poets with Purpose on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And stay tuned for episode 3 coming up with another awesome poet, Karina G. Lopez. That episode will be broadcasting on April 29th at 7 p.m. And for information about the Poets with Purpose workshop or being a guest on the PWP sessions, you can call me at 646-372-6230 or email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. And all of my flyers and graphic design that's done for the PWP sessions and Poets with Purpose Poetry Workshop is done by the fabulous group at Eclipse Graphics New York. You can find them on Instagram at @Eclipse Graphics New York if you're interested in having them do work for you. So with that being said, Sean, thank you so much. Glad to connect with you on this broadcast. This was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your talent and your energy. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you much, bro. Much appreciated for coming through. Thank you.
Most welcome, man. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Have a good night and God bless everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Peace out.